Welcome to the Booby Trap Podcast. Wine, films, murder. Where murder gets a makeover and every alibi has tan lines. I'm Tata Baps.
And I'm Mamie Mellons. This week we're packing our parasols and heading to a sun-drenched island where the cocktails are cold, but the bodies are very warm.
Agatha Christie's Evil Under the Sun from 1982, where glam meets doom and Hercule Poirot wears white linen and vengeance is in the air.
Pair with all this Mediterranean menace, we're pouring a lush, petite mancine, perfect for contemplating dark deeds beneath the summer sun.
And for this episode, we're shaking up our usual formulas just a little. Pour a glass, follow the clues, and let us know what you think. In a world where paradise glows too brightly and every sip hides a sunlit secret, one wine refuses to sweat under pressure. So for the 1982 film Evil Under the Sun, we have Detective Hercule Poirot, which of course I will slaughter every time I say it.
He would correct you.
Yes, which I wish he was. And the mood of a sun-soaked luxury, sarcasm, heat, vanity, and theatrical murder. So our perfect pairing is Justin Bugatti Winemaker Series 2021 Mansing from Verramar Vineyards in Virginia. So this Petite Mansing is lush, it's tropical, it's decadent, it's sun-kissed, and slightly sweet with gripping acidity. So exactly the feel of a glamorous Balkan resort where everything glitters and there's just a little too brightly. A Perot in this immaculate linen suit, sweating delicately underneath the sun. He would appreciate a wine that's both opulent and controlled.
This one strolls in wearing oversized sunglasses and a scandalous silk caftan. Oh, great. Very Audrey Hepburn. Honey-eyed fruit, golden sunshine, and a sharp edge hiding beneath the sweetness. A perfect match for a resort filled with ego, envy, and murder on holiday.
For this wine pairing, we've definitely already poured ourselves a glass. And we want to kind of start off with what are 3 words that going to tell us about this wine? Take a sip and contemplate these words.
Is yum what a
Yum is
holiday would
definitely,
say?
absolutely. Well, I'm going to say it's golden, it's smooth, it does make me want to just lay out in the sun and enjoy. Very good.
And it's one of my favorites. Absolutely one of my favorites.
Yeah. For this, what would you pair this?
I think this is more with, I know chocolate is delicious. I know it's not a red wine,
Yeah.
but it's still good with chocolate. But, I would do fish.
That lemony taste to it. Yes.
Yeah, I think it would serve really nice with some whitefish.
So I'm curious to our audience, how would you review this wine in 3 words? Let us know on social media.
Yum counts.
Absolutely. Yum is good.
Yum.
The verdict here, is it sip or is it skip? What's the verdict? Is it sippable? Is it suspicious or straight to jail? And obviously, I think we both already said it's pretty darn delicious. So it's definitely sippable. So let's go ahead and enjoy our bottle of wine. While we provide an overview of the film Evil Under the Sun from 1982. So cheers.
Cheers. When a famously rude and ravishing actress played by Diana Rigg, you'll know her from The Avengers, turns up strangled and they flew to Island Resort. I'm sorry, it's not funny she was strangled, that she turned up that way. Island Resort everyone at the resort becomes a suspect.
And enter Peter
Ustinov.
Ustinov. Why am I getting all the bad names?
You need more, I know.
Or wine, so it sounds more pronounceable. So he plays Hercule Poirot. And the second time, donning the mustache, the monocle. Well, was he wearing a monocle?
He wasn't in this one.
He has in the past, that's right. And he's there on quote unquote vacation. But we all know that means one thing: body counting and coming.
And that he's a peeping Tom. He's always up in everybody's business.
It's true. It's true.
From bitter ex-lovers to snooty socialites, every sun-kissed guest has a motive, means, and a mean martini habit. Yeah.
They were drinking quite a lot in that
That's how you say Hercule.
Exactly,
You
right?
drink a lot.
Eventually, I'll be able to say it properly at the end. So, so this film was directed by Guy Hamilton, and yes, that is the James Bond guy behind Goldfinger and Live and Let Die. So this what kind of gives us a little Bond level glamour with just more poison and fewer gadgets. He also previously directed another Agatha Christie film, The Mirror Cracked, in 1980.
And so we have a cast to die for. First, the lead role is Peter Ustinov as Hercule Poirot. He started his career back in 1955 in We're No Angels, followed by Hot Millions in 1968. And my favorite, of course, because I'm a child at heart, if you've ever seen the Walt Disney animated version of Robin Hood, he was the voice of King Richard. And I'm not gonna lie, my entirety of the movie, I just couldn't get past it. I couldn't.
Well,
I kept trying to explain his
you're
name.
thinking Prince John.
John's
Well, he did both. So,
Prince
but
John. Yeah, the
second
Prince
is
John is the sucking thumb. Sorry, the whole movie. I'm just like expecting him to go, "Mommy," but you can't unhear it. I'm sorry.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah. But I think I told you that George Sander, who is in All About Eve,
Mhm.
has that very deep and gravelly
Yeah,
voice, and I can't get past Shere Khan. So
right.
you can see that my references to great movies are either through Disney or Bugs Bunny. So I learned opera through Bugs Bunny. So next we have Maggie Smith, who's this. She's so wonderful. As the snarky hotel owner, Daphne Castle. And so she's serving shade. I know she's just so amazing. Even, this is early on,
Yeah.
serving shade in every scene. She was in a number of Agatha Christie Poirot movies with Peter Ustinov, such as Death on the Nile, one of my favorites, and Hot Millions.
Well, and just keeping in mind, he did a total of what, 6 of the
Yeah,
Perot films, so which I didn't realize that there were that many. I think I knew about 3 of them,
yeah.
but I did
Some
know
of
that
'em,
she was in some of them. I didn't know she was in some of them previously,
yeah.
though.
Well, some of them are kind of,
Oh,
forgettable. I think.
sure.
And some of that's not his. That's not his fault. It's just that some of, as much as I love Agatha Christie's, not all of her stories are great. So I think I mentioned Hot Millions, and she is also this season's. I can't wait. Final film, Murder by Death.
Yes, we're excited about
I'm
that.
so excited. If you haven't seen it, before we get, I can't stress enough to watch that. It's.
And something we didn't really talk about at the very beginning, but keep in mind this season is very unique.
Yeah.
So for the season, the first part of it is all about famous detectives.
Right.
But we're gonna get to the point of where we're gonna watch And Then There Were None, which is also, the stories by Agatha Christie,
Hmm.
but the final film is Murder by Death, and so it brings all of that, everything that we saw during the season, all together, wrapped up in a nice, pretty
Right.
bow, and I'm very excited about how we get to that.
I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is fantastic." Think in kind of the vein, somewhat of Clue, but very early before Clue. So just, we'll be gathering in the lounge, which is, um, yeah, I'd say Downton Abbey.
Oh, yeah,
Really?
so, I mean
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's right.
That
That
I
is
mean, I think
one of
right
latest films.
nowadays, that's the only
What people probably know her for.
people know her from,
Yeah.
but, I mean, she was The Honey Pot was great, like, she's
No.
Hot Millions is actually pretty fun too, so I must say, I mean,
Well,
the snarkiness that she provides, amazing.
well, I'm sure, there's probably a lot of the from Harry Potter series.
Mm,
Really,
that
her
too.
career really. I mean, she's an
It kinda
Oscar-winning
it
actress.
came up again, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so she's an Oscar-winning actress, so, So, then you have suspicious guests. You have to have the suspicious guest,
Yeah,
right? So you have James Mason, which was
he's amazing.
that great voice, as Adele Gardner. We've seen him in North by Northwest, A Star Is Born. Lolita is his titular role. He was Captain Nemo in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The Night Has Eyes, and Tata doesn't like scary movies. I, however, do. So some people may remember him what scared the bejeebies out of me, which is Salem's Lot, that was a made-for-TV movie, and he was in that. But he could do anything. So you have Colin Blakely as Sir Horace Blatt. He was in an episode of Avengers with Diana Rigg. Jane Birkin was Christine Redfern, and which I learned gave her name to the Birkin handbag,
Yeah.
which is for bougie stuff. I mean, like one of the most expensive handbags in the world. Who cares? But it was interesting.
Yeah.
Nicholas Clay as Patrick Redfern, which not a lot under his belt, but will probably remember him from he was Sir Lancelot in Excalibur.
Okay.
You have Roddy McDowall, as Rex Brewster. Oh, Lord, everything Roddy McDowall, right? Child actor in
Uh,
Lassie and going forward, he's Cleopatra. But of course, we all know he was Cornelius in Planet of the Apes, the series, films and TV series. Sylvia Miles was Myra Gardner, who had a very storied career, but was kind of a little bitter because she had kind of a big personality. I mean, boobies. So she got typecast a lot as a prostitute. But some of that I think is that her first big role was in Midnight Cowboy, taking John Voight back to her hotel room to have sex. So, I mean, maybe that's not
yeah.
how you start out your career and then gripe about it later that maybe you're
Yeah.
treated as a little bit of a sex bot. But anyway, very storied career. She did a lot of scary movies too. So you have Dennis Quayle as Kenneth Marshall, which was in another Poirot film, Murder on the Orient Express. I always wanted to do a murder train. And then, of course, Diana Rigg. She was the late great queen of Venomous Glam, starring as the victim, Arlena Marshall. And I think the last thing she did was Game of Thrones, because I was like, "That's Diana Rigg." Very dastardly in it. She did a great job. So much of her career pretty much was on the TV screen. Everybody knows that the Avengers. I think she was back in the '60s. There wasn't probably a young boy or young
Mhm.
teenager that didn't love her in that. Witness for the Prosecution was a TV film, but also that's an Agatha Christie book, the Mrs. Bradley Mysteries. And I was way ahead of myself, as I mentioned, Game of Thrones. So, and actually was on there longer than I'm looking at my
Uh,
notes, and a
uh,
lot longer than I thought she was, but she's very
uh,
good.
I didn't watch it. You would have known. You would have seen her and noticed her earlier.
Well, it
So,
took me about 3 tries to get through it because they kept when they killed Khal Drogo off, I'd stopped watching. At first, it was the only reason I was watching it is to
uh,
watch Jason Momoa, and once
yeah,
they killed him off, I'm like, "Oh, I'm done." But I finally got into it and stayed with it because the dragons. As soon as I found out there were dragons, I'm like, "Okay, I'm back in." So, it's sometimes a poor substitute for Jason Momoa, but I'll let not as easy on the eyes, but still,
right.
still cool.
So for this film, it wasn't just a mystery, it was a catwalk of suspects in sunhats. So the story is based on Agatha Christie's 1941 novel, but the adaptation adds sass, sparkle, and synchronized swimming. I don't know about that, but that would be awesome, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like anytime you see synchronized swimming, it's always because it's a musical aspect of it.
Esther Williams.
Yes, there you go. That's
They
true. So there were character modifications made for the screen, including a gender switch, actually. So similar to Hildy with His Girl Friday, it was the character of Emily Brewster in the novel that was changed in the film to Rex Brewster, so Roddy's character.
mhm.
And also the characters of Mrs. Castle and Rosemary Darling in the book, they were merged into one character, so Daphne Castle, so Maggie Smith. And then also, despite not being in the original novel, early versions of the script actually included characters of Colonel Race, who was played by David Niven in Death of the Nile on the Nile. And actually, Niven was offered to return, but had declined due to his failing health. So and later this season, we're gonna actually be able to watch David Niven and Maggie Smith playing sleuths, kind of Nick and Nora Charles from The Thin Man, obviously by different names, but that's gonna be in the film Murder by Death,
Right.
and we'll be able to watch both films this season. So very excited about that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell. We're gonna keep telling you how excited we are, so
Yes.
get used to it. But it's just again, it's a precursor to Clue, but with more tongue in cheek than that. But it's just taking off on if you want to see Peter Sellers play Charlie Chan, that's worth the price of admission right there. And we're gonna be doing Inspector Clouseau movie, which I'm very excited about. Stay tuned to see what that is. But yeah, well, well, I'm taking over your storyline here. So it was shot. No, here's where I'm going to have some problems. Shot on location at the Hotel Cala del Volpe in Sardinia. Wow, I might not pronounce it right, but I gave it some flair.
Absolutely.
So the film drenches every frame, and it really is very
Yeah.
attractive movie. In Mediterranean luxury, it's so gorgeous it almost distracts you from the murder, almost. And also the other distraction we discussed, which was when you're watching it, pay attention to the red. Lots and lots of red, which is purposeful. Red in movies means violence and evil, and it's just like it's very distracting. There is so much red in that movie.
Right. It's right in your
Everywhere.
face. It's not subtle at all.
Right, and I think I'd mentioned that I wouldn't have known that except it came up with Stanley Kubrick and talking about it in The Shining, and they actually used it in other things, not just him, but how he used red, more subtle than that, obviously, in The Shining to symbolize when something was getting ready to, it's like foreboding or foreshadowing. You see a red apple in a bowl. There's just a lot more subtle than this. This was in your face, but you feel it was evil under the sun and it symbolized evil. So evil is everywhere.
Right.
And in your face.
Yeah.
So when Hercule Poirot, we start calling him detective.
Yes.
When,
You're struggling with his name.
yeah. I think they call him Mr. Poirot. Poirot, but he gets crusty about it. So he examines the hotel register for signatures of previous guests. He discovers the names of several international celebrities during the 90s, including Cole Porter, which I thought was funny.
Well, they have a lot of his music in the film.
Yeah, I had to look that up. I'm like, how's Cole Porter music in this? I'm pretty sure he's deceased because he was.
Well, yeah, it's not like, oh, it's the music from. It was like kind of like he was the way that they had it on the initial titles and that it was confusing, I think.
Yeah, it was. And then she sang one of the Cole Porter tunes. So you have Ivor Novello, Maurice Chevalier. Hey, I can get that one. Fred Astaire, Charlie Chaplin, possibly Marlene Dietrich. So it's just a who's of old Hollywood and Easter eggs, which I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
That was before Easter eggs were a thing.
Right.
So I really enjoyed that.
So speaking of old Hollywood, so in 1952, while remodeling his home, James Masson actually discovered several reels of Buster Keaton's lost films. So he had actually purchased Keaton's Hollywood mansion and immediately recognized the historical value and significance of it and was responsible for their preservation, which is pretty cool. And the costumes that we see were designed by Anthony Powell, who went full glam with resort wear. Every outfit, even if it was high, like, hey, we're having evening, drinks versus we're just kind of lounging around, like amazing. So think caftans, think turbans, shoulder pads, sharp enough to kill. Like, however, Poirot actually, or Powell, I should say, wasn't the only one who was the costume designer on set. So Peter Ustinov, he actually designed his own dating costume for the film.
What about that elephant robe you liked so much?
I love that elephant robe that he wore over his swimming costume. It was gorgeous.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm gonna have to plead ignorance here. I'm gonna assume caftans are a fancy word for scarves.
No, it's the flowy kind of. They could be dresses or.
I'll call them muumuus. Okay.
Yeah, they're essentially muumuus, but they're gorgeous, right? And they're comfortable, and and it makes sense, right? For like resort wear.
Yeah.
So you just want something comfortable, throw on, and there you go. So
it's a cover. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be cover up or even almost like a dress.
There was a lot of colors. I mean, they were so colorful. I think my favorite though was when Mrs. Byrne, the black and white contrast. That was the best. I know that's crazy, but that whole black and white.
It was a gorgeous.
It was a very good. It was a silhouette, and it was. Yeah.
Well, that's where it had the killer shoulder pads for sure. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. But you know what it reminded me of? The Carol Burnett of Gone with the Wind parody, where she's like, "Thank you, something I saw in the window," and she's like wearing the whole Kurt lines.
Well, it's funny. It made me actually think about My Fair Lady when she's just dressed up.
Yes,
the black and white dress.
I think that might have been Edith Head.
Could have been. Yeah.
Maybe she was the one to beat. She's actually, if you look at who's got the most Oscars in Hollywood, she's at the top. Edith Head for.
It makes sense.
Yeah, she was the one you went to.
Yeah. And just a last thing, for Peter Ustinov. So he was so talented that he actually dubbed his own voice in both German and French versions of this film.
Wow.
So that's very interesting. So lights down, glasses up. It's time to watch Evil Under the Sun, 1982, with a sip of Vermar Petit Sing, and we'll pull out some scenes that stopped us in our tracks and unpack why they work without spilling all the secrets.
Arlene and I were in the chorus of a show together. Not that I could ever compete. Even in those days, she could always throw her legs up in the air higher than any of us. And wider. Kenneth, this is such a surprise. When you told me of an island run by a quaint little landlady, I had no idea it was Daphne Castle.
Yes, quite. Daphne, I wonder if we could go to our rooms. It's been a long journey.
Oh, certainly.
Like, you just can't, there's not enough.
The rivalry, right, from the very beginning, where she kicks her legs higher and wider. Yeah. I mean, it's really great.
Just the facial expressions. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, she's, there's just not enough good things to say about her.
And yeah, just the snarkiness between the 2
Mhm.
They're just
Maggie
obviously
Smith,
there's some rivalry between there.
and Maggie Smith does snarky with class.
My gosh, yeah.
She can be like, she can cut your knees out from underneath you, and you're like, that was so nice.
Right.
That was the nicest stuff. Oh, thank you. So yeah, she's great.
I hope you haven't come here to practice your sleuthing games on my guests. They've all got far too many skeletons in their cupboards to join in with enthusiasm.
It's not my intention to derange you or your guests, madame. Pendant les vacances, my desires are simply a good valet, a tisane de menthe poivrée at 8 o'clock in the morning precisely, and, of course, some wax, some beeswax for my shoes. That's all.
She looked at him like, she was like, you sure? That's it?
It's very specific items for sure. But I think the people that are here don't need their skeletons revealed
In their
Please,
cupboard.
out of that cupboard. Please don't.
At least she didn't say cupboard. Skeletons in your cupboard. Yeah, fantastic. And notice all the red?
Yeah.
Red.
Yeah.
There she goes. Not a care in the world.
I'll make her care.
Oh, what do you know about care? If it had been up to you, the Good Samaritan would have passed by on the other side.
I have an idea, but I need to work it out.
Well, don't forget about my cousin Hattie Heimenheimer. Well, it took her so long to work out an idea, they finally had to stash her away in the booby hatch. Oh, dear.
Every time Sylvia Miles' character, every time I was like, how in the world is he tolerating her?
Yeah.
He's a shrew. And he's just this very quiet, mild mannered, and I guess that's the way it was supposed to be.
Right.
But she was like,
Well-
get her off the screen because I want to punch her in the throat.
And the thing too, like if that's the kind of character that's her persona that she plays over and over again, there's a
Yes.
reason why she was typecast, right?
Yeah. She's that.
Like
yeah.
I can't see her then sitting and like, let's be sorry for her.
Yeah.
Right, at all.
Well, she's no rate. Well, I mean, she really couldn't fall down attractive enough. That's she was.
Right.
But she never was. She wasn't classically Hollywood beautiful. So
Right.
she had a good career. But
Yeah.
every time I was like, can we get her off the screen? Because I don't think I could take any more of this. Because he spent a lot of time leaving rooms.
Right. Yeah. Well, and he's drinking a lot too. So that's part of it.
Yeah. Do you blame him?
No.
And reading and just drink too.
Well, one of the interesting things that she says is about her cousin, and she's thrown into a booby hatch. And every time I hear the term booby, of course, I'm like, I wonder if there's a reference, right? Booby birds, where that reference comes from, or because that came from like sailors, which
Right.
we found out it does. Booby hatch actually originated when sailors who behave foolishly, essentially rubes, they became mentally unstable and they're at sea. They were sometimes confined into a small hooded enclosure on deck. So this physical structure was actually originally called a booby hatch. And then over time, the term actually booby hatch became slang for mental institutions.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I know you can call people a boob. Nobody really does anymore because boobs
Right.
are taking on another meaning.
Yes.
I think I already threw back to that a while.
Right.
So yeah.
No. Yes, I have been swimming. There's nothing like the shock of cold water and rhythmic movement to stimulate the little gray cells.
Yes, of course.
This one is so funny because if you saw him in an earlier scene where he was quote unquote swimming, he has the stroke down, but he's walking in water while stroking like he's swimming.
Up to his ankles. And then, did you catch where I love the comedy brought into it? Is that then he starts tapping his head, holding his head,
Right.
and trying to
Trying to get water
he's
out
got
of his ear.
water in his ear, so he water up to his ankles.
Has that swimming cap on, but he's not really even in the water.
So I think some of that's purposeful because the contradiction. He's this brilliant, observant man and all of these things, but he's also kind of ridiculous. I mean,
Right.
the bathing cap and the flamboyant robe and just what he did there. I don't think they mean for him to be eccentric. They want those contradictions.
Well-
Like, yeah, he's all these things, but he's got his flaws, just like his suspicion.
He's a little strange, just enough quirkiness, but it's not over the top.
No, it's not. I don't know if you're anybody in life that is like a super genius, is so incredibly smart, and they're socially awkward. They're so smart that they don't really pick up on social cues and don't really, because that's not what they're paying attention to. He's not worried about social convention. He's not worried about all that. He's always deducing. He's always
Right.
thinking about the next step of what's going on. I had a friend that years ago like this. He was so ridiculously smart. He was almost weird because it was hard for him to socially interact.
Right.
Because that's just not where his brain power went.
Right.
But man, his logic and his smarts were just off the charts. So it's just, I've known people like that. They're so smart, they're weird. So I loved that though, the knocking the water out of his ears. Okay.
Strangled her.
That is poppycock! That is bloody poppycock!
If it is poppycock, then it's most regrettable that you said in front of me.
His pronunciation.
I didn't think this last night, but I'm thinking it now, which is during the myth. First of all of them, well, him in particular, I'm sure it's meant to be intimidating, but he's a close talker.
He is, yes.
And as I'm watching that again, I'm thinking, in that movie, there was a Friends episode they did this with Gary Oldman. I don't know if you ever saw that, where they had to enunciate very hard, and in that spitting.
Oh no.
There's no way you can be that close and having that much like drama interaction, and not be just spitting all over each other.
Yeah.
At the end of the scene, they're handing, like in the Friends episode, there's handing towels to the actors to wipe their face off. Anybody knows that Friends episode they're going, I'm talking about, was Gary Oldman and the one scary Joey. He was just spitting all over him. But yeah, if I'm being really honest, like, what did he say? What was that? Got a quarter step where?
This has been a most unusual crime, in that apparently nobody had the opportunity of committing it.
So the fact that no one had an opportunity to commit this crime, like, it's amazing how everyone has an alibi. It's crazy how no one could have possibly done anything.
But she's dead. Nonetheless.
I mean, yeah, who could have done it?
Now, watching that made me think of Inspector Clouseau. They're gathered in the lounge, and he would do the same thing, but he would. So I guess this was maybe a parody of that. I never knew that, but because I could see him like bumbling over things, they fall and he knocks things over, and they're rolling their eyes because he's breaking priceless artifacts and wanting to know if there's mules in the closet.
Well, I mean, even I think like for the Thin Man, for Nick and Charles, Nick would kind of gather people around, even if he didn't quite know what was going on, but it's like pulling all together. Because also it gives you an opportunity to see how people take an accusation, or you accuse someone else, throw everyone off, and everyone together to start accusing each other and pointing fingers to other people.
But it's the best, but you love it because you're like, you want to see the reveal. They do the flashbacks of how it happened.
Yeah.
And the way this is put together is used over and over and over again. The gathering in the lounge, I mean, Knives Out did, which will also be one of ours at some point, that tried and true formulas. Some of these detectives like this, so many things what you see today are based.
Oh, of course.
The deduction and all of it. It's fascinating. He's one of my favorites. So if you want to see these slinks, where do you find them?
So obviously watch the film.
Oh yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, these are just little clips that we identify that we thought give you a feel for the film generally.
We didn't tell you who did it or how they did it.
No, we did not.
No,
Not as yet.
You gotta watch the film to find that out. No spoilers here.
So yeah, definitely check out the film. For this new format that we've been talking about, we'll provide clips. We'll talk about each of the clips, but at the end of the day, we really want you guys to go and watch the full film, see things that we saw. Maybe you saw more, and we'd love to find out what you saw that we missed. Movies that you watch all the time, you can still find new stuff.
I gotta go back and watch The Sixth Sense. I've seen it a million times. Looking, doing some research on the red in movies, and there was a scene in there about one of the ghosts. I'm like, where was that? So, you want to do the film review?
Yeah. So now that we've strolled through every soap-drenched twist and pause on scenes that were kind of where the heat really cracked the truth open, let's step back into the shade. let's review the film as a whole. So this is kind of an opportunity where we could talk about, some of our favorite scenes or some surprises that we didn't realize, or maybe some of the cinematic features that were kind of interesting, or any other kind of additional film fact that we didn't get a chance to talk about. And I think we'll just kind of start with that. And then I think also after that, kind of, is there a particular scene in the film that we think the pairing of this wine matches the film really well?
I gotta tell you, my favorite scenes, easy hands down, is Maggie Smith.
Yes.
She chews up the scenery. There's parts of the movie that could just, quite frankly, throw away. Be okay with that, and just do Maggie Smith.
All right.
Because when she's not on screen, the movie is not as interesting anymore. And her interaction, especially when she starts jumping in to be
Right.
to be a sleuth. So yeah, it's got to be her. What about you?
I mean, 100% Maggie Smith. I agree. Like, not only the zingers that she was throwing at Arlena, because obviously of that rivalry, but everything that was coming out of her mouth was just spectacular.
Oh.
And when she started jumping in to help, that was for me, yes, her trying to get involved because this is her hotel. She wants it to figure it out and discreetly, but she's trying to help as much as she can. That was definitely some fun. I will say though, probably my favorite scene is the swimming scene. Where he's fake swimming, just because it's hilarious. It's like it's such a minor little piece in the whole film, but just the humor. He doesn't even say anything, like, and he gets back. He's like, "Oh yes, I was totally swimming." Fake swimming is just, for me, is hilarious. I love that. I think the zingers that were coming across and that little humor here and there were really great.
Yeah. And he ends up making it in the reveal. He makes her a partner, so she does actually get to participate in that. I don't think there's a whole, with Agatha Christie. I'm an avid reader of Agatha Christie, but there's most of her stories a very strict formula. You're introduced to the characters. Her detective goes around and overhears things. They're peeping toms or busybodies, observes, and you have to be doing it too, because that's how you collect clues. So you're not paying attention, you're not going to get where he gets. But, and I hate to say this, but because I am a huge fan, but storylines sometimes I don't find surprises in them. They are forced to be not plot holes, but sometimes they're they're meant to serve the plot sometimes rather than just growing organically. So there's not, are you surprised about it? And again, if you're watching through when he's hearing things, watching things, you notice it was his facial expressions that was tipping it off. So if you're going through the movie, you have to be where he's at, listening so you get a chance. It's like an interactive movie. So not a lot of surprises.
I would say quote unquote surprise was when you were talking about red, and then we were starting to look at red throughout the film. And I think that made me be more observant than just, I'm just watching the film. So I was trying to pick out, who's wearing red and why they might be wearing red, or maybe they're not wearing red. Maybe it's just near them. And why would that be? So just kind of thinking through that, because I was being more observant, it made me realize the way that he's interacting and listening is different than maybe what I thought before, because I'm noticing he's listening and he's paying attention, but he also is kind of I feel like he didn't eye roll, but he kind of gave the impression of an eye roll here. Is like, okay, I don't think he believes so and so. Or, when he starts listening to Maggie Smith and he's kind of like, dear God, not another idea. But it's subtle. It's super, super subtle. But if you're really observing him, you kind of see those subtleties. You're more aware of the body language in that. I'm less so. So for me, that's a surprising thing. I was more aware.
And sometimes he comes right out and says it, where he's just like, I accept your alibi. And if you really are paying attention, put a notebook in your lap. He's eliminating people. But sometimes people at the end, apparently everybody's been eliminated. But some of them more so where he's just like, you unintentionally corroborated their alibi. So if you start paying attention, really paying attention, you can kind of get down into it. Because you're right, you're more of a logical, analytical person, where I just pay attention to how people are moving and speaking, because it's how I relate to the world. So for you to be that into it, it serves its purpose. And just like the cinematic features of all of the colors were so deep, it's so rich. I mean, this is just this Mediterranean. You've got this murder in the backdrop of this beautiful, beautiful setting. And hey, actually, there is a surprise. I was surprised where Sardinia was.
Yes.
Not the right hemisphere for a change. I'm surprised, but I knew some geography, because you'd have to understand how terrible I am at geography to appreciate that. We're not going to call that out. But anyway, I got the right ocean.
Yeah.
And I got the right country, so
You did.
I was pretty proud of myself on that one. So I think that's that film fact for the Reds. I think at this point, anybody who watches it based on our recommendation are going to be really in tuned to that red now.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really fun film fact. Now it's like it's going to be an eye worm, like an earworm, because now when you watch movies, Hunger Games did it. It's just done more. When I don't want to try to forget guitarist, is that the one that designed the Hunger Games? When they put him in the room and gave him to kill himself because he'd failed and everything, and there was the apple. So it's used. Watch The Shining, and you'll see all the subtleties. So now I don't think you'll ever, certain movies, every time you see red, you'll be like, what's coming?
What are some other films out there that
Yeah.
you've seen that you've noticed, like, and is very distinct? The color red was either depicting, evil or death, or death is coming, or what are those other parts that
What was Red Rum? In The Shining, Red Rum was written in
yeah.
red crayon. It may not be as fascinating to everybody else as it is, well, specifically me, but it woven so much into cinematic history that to me it's just fascinating. I noticed it probably from the first scene. Like, wait a minute.
Oh yeah, it's like it's up front in your face, like, almost immediately.
Well,
I think we noticed it as soon as we got to the part of where he's now gonna go investigate.
And it was easy to do anyway, because the costumes, everything was meant to be super vibrant. The whole theme of all this beauty, nefariousness going on.
So at this point, if you're having your wine, what's a scene in the film that you think that the wine paired?
Well, it's tart. It's Maggie. It's tart. It's crisp. It's behind the hotel desk where when she's about the legs up in the air, and every time she's cracking on, either behind the hotel desk. It's not even just one scene behind the hotel desk, or specifically when she's cracking on Arlena.
Yeah.
And basically calling her a slut the entire movie under her breath in a lot of it. So pay attention, because it's not always obvious. Sometimes she's just sitting there making these just under, like the one when I'll pick the best scene, which was when Arlena was singing at the piano. Don't remember exactly what the comment was, but she made this really snarky comment, basically slut shaming her again.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hilarious. So that would be the scene where she's saying, "Can you please pass the salt?"
Right.
There was no venom in it.
Right.
There wasn't. If any other woman did that, you'd be like, she's a catty little wench. But Maggie Smith, you love it.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that's the scene. The scene with the piano scene. The crisp, sharp, just in your face.
So for me, I just like the color and the refreshness of it, and the Christmas. For me, I feel like it's when pretty much everyone except Poirot and everyone's sunbathing.
Mhm.
It made me think of the warmth of the sun, where you're nice and warm because you're sunbathing out there. And when I look at the color of the wine, and where I'd want like a glass of this, right, where
Mhm.
I am down there just sipping away, enjoying the warmth of the sun, as
Yeah.
well as the refreshingness and tartness of this wine.
And which is a real
Yeah.
testament to the wine,
Yeah.
because you don't typically think about drinking wine outside in the summer. It's more the fruity cocktails, the citrusy type stuff. Like this would
It just
this
It's like the
pairing.
twofold. It's like
Yeah.
the look of it makes me think of summertime, and where if I am out hot sunbathing,
Yeah.
this would be amazing drink to just like enjoy next to the sea, as they were. Booby trap moment. One thing that comes to mind is Arlena Marshall. She wasn't just sunbathing; she was performing. And here's the kind of the booby trap. The danger wasn't just her seductive beauty. Yes, she was gorgeous, and she obviously drew men in. But it was really that resentment that she left simmering behind her. She's found strangled in a secluded cove, and everyone has a motive because everyone
nice.
kind of hated her at that point. Yeah.
And she thinks, ironically, she's so loved and so popular when in reality, everybody has a motive to kill her. Kind of scary.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever find me strangling a cove, I'll give you a list. There's a list. I'll tell you where it is.
Yeah. Let me,
Of the people I suspect. So, you've got a good deducing skill, so you figure it out. Remember, the husband's always suspected.
that's true.
And just saying, it's always the husband or the wife are always the first suspects, or the boyfriend, somebody close. All right. So do we want to rate this?
Yeah. So this is kind of a different rating that we're doing also for the film. So is it the real deal or real trouble verdict? because, some films deserve applause and others deserve an alibi. So here's 3 ratings. So The Real Deal, it's a knockout film. It's clever, it's classic, it's endlessly watchable. It's sketchy but entertaining, so it's fun, it's messy, suspicious behavior detected. Or it's a criminal offense. It's guilty of wasting your time and it should go straight to movie jail.
It's a real deal. And I think I did some research that said that it was at the time it was considered less successful than Death on the Nile. It didn't do as well. It wasn't received as well because, and this is what I found funny, is that they didn't have enough well-known actors. And I'm watching this, and there's all of these Oscar winner. I'm like, what are you looking for in a movie?
I mean, I wonder if it was like you didn't have enough. You needed everyone to be star son, right?
One, two, you had
At
I
least
guess
like 4, at least. But I mean,
I think
should all of them been?
I know there was at least 3. So I don't know. I don't know what the magic number is. But I thought that was a little short. But it was B movie actors. Who's the B movie actor? I mean, the guy who played Redfern. Maybe he didn't
Oh.
have a historical career, but listen, in his defense, he also died very young, so he didn't really have time to do a prolific career. But B movie actors, I'm sorry, the acting and the writing was it's not my favorite one. The only, if I had a critique, it would be I think some things could have been left on the cutting room floor. I think it runs at like 117 minutes. I don't think it needs to. I think we could have gotten there quicker. After a while, I'm just like, let's get along. Let's get to it. So is this the one I'll go back to and watch over and over again? Out of all of them, it's Death on the Nile. Well, that's the one I'll go back. And Murder on the Orient Express would be the ones I go back to every single time. So I see why this is out of all of them. This is the one that's the least fave. So what do you think?
I think I'm going to give it sketchy but entertaining. And that's not to say that there wasn't amazing. So, it's fun, it's messy, it's suspicious behavior detected, though. And I think, part of it being, yes, absolutely, there was some great acting. We talked about Maggie so many different times, right? Like Maggie was spectacular in this. I think I absolutely agree on that. She saved this film.
Yeah.
Yes, there's some kind of quirky things by Peter and that, but is it something that is endlessly watchable? Not so much. Is it a knockout film? Not so much for me, but it's absolutely entertaining. And I have watched this film multiple times, but would it be on repeat? No.
Okay, can I change mine to sketchy but entertaining? Because that's really what I meant to say. And then I made it sketchy and entertaining. Yeah. So I'm a contradiction. So yeah, sketchy but entertaining. It was required reading. It showed up on our schedule. I'm like,
true, because we had the final film already figured out, so we had to figure out films that would align with it. We have Charlie Chan film coming up, during the season. Are we a fan of Charlie Chan?
No.
Not at all. But
I never want to be closed-minded to anything. You have to respect all the genres. Never close because no matter, except for, I wish we had this rating system with that one. Like Frank Sinatra movie, man, that would have been
triply offensive right there, right?
God. But I mean, this is not just a throwaway.
Yeah.
But I do, when I saw it on the schedule, I was like, oh man, it's like, and again, some of it's the runtime.
Yeah.
I just, especially in a whodunit, you kind of got to get there. I mean, 117 minutes for a film like this is a little lengthy, I think. And if you really think about it, there's not that much going on.
It really isn't. Everyone meets and then all of a sudden she's dead. And you're not adding new dimensions to the film, right? Like, oh my gosh, here's an extra twist.
My judgment of a good movie is usually when I really know is it one of two things. Is this movie ever going to be over? Or I don't want this movie to be over.
Right.
I'm sad when it ends.
So now that we've basked in the sun and admired the linen and sipped our seaside wine, let's go ahead and step into the shade where jealousy, greed, and premeditation are anything but a vacation. So we've savored the cinema. Let's go ahead and dust for fingerprints and uncover the criminal threads simmering beneath the surface. We have 3 criminal themes that are represented in the film that we're going to talk about today. Planned spousal murder, staged alibi. Technically, well, there is a spousal murder in this, but he murdered. There was a murder of another spouse earlier in the film. Financially motivated homicide, killing for inheritance or money, and identity deception over multiple crimes. So, kicking off with spousal murder and staged alibi. In the film, the crime wasn't impulsive, but rather it was meticulously timed murder that was relied on a construct of false timeline and multiple coordinated alibis to mislead Poirot, a bottled body double and strangulation staged to look spontaneous further complicated the investigation. And so I'm going to kick it over to Mamie to really kind of identify some real life parallels.
But yeah, we had the murder of Kathleen Peterson, the Michael Peterson case, where the time of death and movements inside the house were fiercely contested. The staircase, which I love. If you have not seen, don't watch the movie, the series on TV. Watch the documentary, The Staircase. You'll be very divided on it because nobody knows, which is domestic homicides where the surviving partner's account and timeline become the key battleground. And it brings on to where doing, second time murders, but very, very interesting. But yeah, it very much mirrors that, where you just your timeline's just not an owl didn't fly through.
Right. I was like, wasn't there a bird in the staircase?
There was an owl that took her down the stairs. I mean, it got crazier and crazier. But still, there was reasonable doubt on that. So, then you have insurance driven spouse murders. There's Chris Dawson in Australia that allegedly killed his wife, disguised, made a normal domestic routine. Hope he didn't get her while she was cleaning the house. I don't think I know that one.
Any other ones you can think of?
I think we've talked about this. Usually, I can't think of any specifics right now, but it's usually with motives. It's usually it was if they're love or greed. Follow the money trail, or follow this. There's somebody revenge that somebody is unhappy, and this one happened to be. This is follow the money trail.
And I feel like if it is like a spouse, like the staged alibi does tend to come and play pretty frequently, right?
Lacey Peterson, who big time staged alibi. But no, but that one, I guess you can call it love. He's trying to get rid of his wife so he can run off with his mistress, which I guess is love. Love for another woman. You've got to you follow one of those trails, it'll get to where you get you where you need to be.
For the staged alibi, there's a murder where they were turning, and maybe this wasn't like a spouse murder or a passion murder, but they were using air conditioning to stage the murders.
Turn the air conditioning on warp speed so she would stay cool, and it throws off the timeline because when they measure the temperature of the body, which is they can tell it can't be precise, but they can get within a window of time based on what the body temperature is. And so he threw it off so he could build an alibi by turning the air conditioning way up. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
You're fudging the timeline in specific ways, whether it's your own alibi or when the murder took place. By throwing that off, you allow for your alibi to be in a better place.
Right. And the one that is was more recent. There's the Pam Hop case in Missouri. Again, following the money. You're finding and following the money trail.
So going into the financially motivated homicide. So in the film, the victim is targeted because of her wealth, with the killer seeking to control or benefit from her money, particularly in this case, Jewel. Generally this covers killings for like insurance, inheritance, or to conceal fraud. So some interesting facts, like many of these crimes involved a prior pattern of financial strain or gambling or fraud. And those life insurance payouts and changes to wills close to the time of death are kind of recurrent red flags.
Oh yeah, I mean, was a case a few years ago where he had his wife murdered because his whole life was a lie, his education, but mostly his business was failing. She was and what finally kicked it off was they were going to foreclose on the house, and there was going to be no hiding it anymore. So all this in the background, he'd been basically just robbing Peter to pay Paul, trying to keep this whole thing afloat. But at the same token, he was gambling his money away. He was doing whatever. They were bankrupt. She didn't know it, but when she got booted out of her house, they were going to find out about it. So just to keep all of his financial crimes under, and he was also committing financial crimes, to hide all that, she was murdered. I mean, what a crazy thing to do just because you don't want to get outed. And of course, we'll just do our tip of the day, which is if anybody takes an insurance policy out on you, and a lot of money, just be alert, sleep with one eye open, because Yeah, there's a red flag. All of a sudden, it's like, hey, but sometimes they don't even know insurance policies are out on them because they forge them. They forge their name on them. They don't even know.
And you would think, like, for insurance policies like that, that you would have to sign in person.
Kind of a notary, but it's crazy. But and another tip of the day: if you decide that your spouse, significant other, is not worth breathing anymore, do not start bugging the insurance company 5 minutes after they're dead to find out when the payout is. For God's sakes, take a beat, because that is a huge red flag.
That
That's
is a
how
red
most
flag.
of them get caught. Don't marry the hooker 2 months after they're dead, or the nanny, or your secret girlfriend. Breathe.
Don't bring them into the house
Oh,
or the
I'll bring
but
them to the house.
don't start having them live with you immediately after,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Well, there was one woman brought her lover in the house and tried to pass him off to her kids, that it was their dad, that it was him. People are nuts. People.
What?
I'm just saying, I'm just giving you a tip of how to get away with it. Don't do those things, because it's going to bring immediate attention. If you got a hooker girlfriend, keep her on ice for a while, and don't call the engine, because I can't tell you how I watch these shows. No, I've run through them all. And one of the first things is like that they were calling the insurance company. When's the payout? When's the payout? Not the funeral arrangement, but show me the money.
Yeah.
So don't do that. And also don't do this. If you're confessing to anything, don't bring my name into it and say that the reason that I suggested this is how you can get away with it, because I don't need to knock on my door. I'm not suggesting you do anything. This is my disclaimer. I do not condone, suggest, or in no way endorse doing anything. This is fun. We're in a fun space.
Yes.
Right. Save me, Tata.
So I know some other kind of real life examples historically have been about Black Widows and Bluebeard serial killers who repeatedly married and murdered for money. So like, for Black Widow, these are women who murder, multiple partners, spouses, lovers, mostly because for that financial gain or like insurance money or inheritance, typically using poison, but that's not always the case. But we always talk
Women
poison.
like to poison.
Yep, women, poison is a woman's
This is the thing.
weapon. But some notable cases included like Vera, was it Rensky? She poisoned 35 people. And she's known as Colombian Black Widow gang.
Taylor Moore, she's the one that I'm most familiar with on our list. I've seen lots of documentaries on her. I mean, she almost got away. She got cocky because a lot of these, that's how they get caught. Okay, you have some of these poisons will make it look like they just died of a natural cause. I mean, they're digging their current exes up, because some of these poisons will make it look like like a heart attack or things of that nature. And they get cocky. It's like, well, I got away with it once. Let's give it a whirl a second time. Third time. How unlucky can you be to just keep marrying people that, I know that sometimes they say that till death do you part is not a vow. It's a wish, that they're not like just dropping dead of heart attacks just to get out of it because she was not a pleasant person. But it's just the cockiness of it, and again, they started digging these people up to see.
So is the father, the mother-in-law, first husband, and then her boyfriend.
And I don't remember off the top of my head. I mean, usually they'll only get convicted of one. And sometimes it's not the one that's the most recent. They'll go back and pick up on
whichever has the most evidence. That makes
Exactly.
sense. So in addition to Black Widows, you have then the male counterpart, which is Bluebeard killers. They're, historically, they're serial murderers who are targeting multiple spouses, typically women. Once again, there's, and obviously, about Bluebeards, right? Like both of these Black Widows and Bluebeards, these are known terms. So one of the examples for a Bluebeard, German American who in 1918 murdered at least 4 women in New York and Missouri. I'm assuming wives at that point. I don't know about any modern ones, honestly, and maybe there are.
They don't really give those titles to
They
as
don't.
much anymore.
They don't.
But you still have them. You have I brought not Scott Peterson, of Lacey Peterson, the Scott Peterson who was a sheriff. He was just a miserable human being. That had he killed 2 wives. He got away with it the first time. Then there was the second time, and then I think what ended up sinking him is he married a very young lady, and she just disappeared. And so they don't call him that anymore. But it still happens to where they just all of a sudden told you the other one. Had one kayaking accident. One disappeared off a mountain. Wives just keep dying of all these mysterious accidents.
Right.
So it is a very real thing, but they just don't give him these.
Right. I think you hear Black Widow still,
Yeah, you do hear
but
Black Widow.
Bluebeards you do not.
Them, they're just,
And because it seems like that's more of a
yeah,
but, I mean, you have films, you have obviously, you have these people referenced as, like, an American Bluebeard, there's a
right.
French Bluebeard, so
It's just not a term, but it is
yeah.
absolutely still a thing that happens. And very recently, the sheriff that stopped Peterson, that's not been that long ago. And I
Mm.
mean, and the reason I think the last one disappeared is because he came so close to getting the second of, I think we were talking about is drowning in a bathtub. You know how hard and then when they go in, there's no water anywhere. The bathtub's dry, but he says he's pulled her out of this bathtub. So it's just no, it's still happening.
Yeah.
The staircase killer. He didn't do it twice, but he took it off. His friend's wife had actually, which was suspect, but had taken a fall, and he kind of was like, "Oh, blueprint." And who knows? I mean, the ones that get caught on the first one, who knows?
Right.
Especially the one if they get away with it. Our tendency instead of divorce, especially when it's like it's cheaper, it's
And if
gonna get half of everything.
our third area of crime analysis is identity deception linking multiple crimes. So the film ties the murderers to an earlier killing under a different identity. And so, like I said, this is where that spousal murder was coming in. But it's showing how a criminal can actually reinvent themselves across like jurisdictions, right? Or different areas. Generally, this involves changing names, backstories, or locations to avoid detection while continuing to do similar crimes. Interesting fact, before digital databases, it was much easier to shed an identity by simply moving. And then obviously with today's biometric data and cross-border, databases, this makes it a lot more difficult. But when you have a space like the US where you're crossing over states left and right, I mean, you still have digital issues, right? But it still allows you're not crossing over from country to country to country, say between the US and Europe to a certain extent. You probably have some leeway to get between, large tracts of land um, to be able to go and start killing, in the same method again. But what are some real life examples?
I'm just going to focus on one because out of all of them, we've got the fraudster from Catch Me If You Can, who's now a motivational speaker, Frank Allen Canals, and there's Christian Gerhard Schreier, but the one that is the most fascinating, I think, was John List. John List was in the 50s. I'm sure you've probably heard of it. Killed his entire family, his mother, his children, laid him out neatly in the dining room, and disappeared. Lived a normal life. That was all he did. But here's what is fascinating about it. I think so, at least. So, what got him caught was this: America's Most Wanted. John Walsh's first and most famous catches early on in America's Most Wanted. He had commissioned an artist to do a bust of what he thought John List would look like in real time. This is before they could do the digital etching. This was sat and did this bust. And then the artist thought, well, he would wear glasses. What kind of glasses would he wear? So he has this basket of odds and ends glasses. Puts the glasses on. This is shown on America's Most Wanted. And somebody calls in and said, I know this guy. This guy's my neighbor. He has lived a quiet life. He's never done so much as a traffic ticket. Interesting. And when they catch him, he looks exactly like this guy had sculpted him to look. But even better than that, the glasses that he was wearing were exactly the glasses. It was uncanny. So that's what got him caught. John List disappeared. And if it weren't for America's Most Wanted, he probably never would have been caught.
I guess the good thing is that he wasn't creating new families to then destroy, essentially, to then move on and destroy, which some people do, right? Because, like, hey, if I can get away with it, let me move on and let me create, opportunities for
they don't even know
crime.
Married to a murderer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. No, he was, they say he was living a quiet life, but he's just a nobody, just living a nobody life. And sometimes when you see those sketch artists, I'm like, there's no way I would be able to pick out a criminal out of some of those sketches. So to do that out of imagination and it be that absolute exact, down to picking out just what kind of pairs of glasses in this. We don't wear the same size. The glasses I wear now are glasses I would wear 15 years ago. So I thought it was fascinating just what could be done. I feel about John Walsh. We saw him at Crime Con and he was a rock star. He's
your jaw was dropped. You're just staring at him. Security had to push you out of the
yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But you're just in awe. So awesome job.
But I was not the only. I mean, I was a bit of an embarrassment. But in the crown world, he's a rock star.
Yeah.
And the man has turned what was a horrific tragedy and has saved so many people. He could have just crawled into a hole and done nothing. And what he's done has really changed the world. When we saw him at CrowdCon, I mean, Adam's been gone 40 something years, and he still cries over his son. So yeah, I had to zip up my jaw. You can't get my jaw to drop very often, but I wasn't the only one clamoring.
Yeah.
He was an absolute rock star. Shout out to John Walsh today too. So again, that's the one that is, I think, the most fascinating and the most recent in history. And Scott Peterson with the Lacey Peterson, he was trying to do it. Said he
That's right. Dry and dyed his hair.
dyed his hair, had a pocket full of cash, run for the border. He's like, no, I was going golfing. I'm like, I know that when I go golfing, I dye my hair and
Right.
$10,000 worth of cash in my pocket. He was going to make a run for it to get to someplace where he couldn't be extradited. So, I don't think that's indicative of guilt. Sure, it's not a good look. These things that you think never happen or happen long time, they still happen. I mean, there people that you don't know. I mean, America's Most Wanted's built on that. Neighbors calling in and going, wait a minute, that guy or that woman, that's my neighbor.
True.
And they've been living under a false identity for John List is just the most famous one. The Empire of America's Most Wanted was built on that.
Yeah.
Of what life are they living? You stay off the grid, don't use credit card, It's harder now.
It's a lot harder.
A lot harder. It is with all the like you mentioned, with all the digital technology and
Surveillance.
It's a lot harder to fall off the grid, but
People
it can still happen. I mean, I watch shows now to where it's taken them, the Unicorn Killer, that one, he disappeared for a long time. That's because they couldn't get him extradited, but it's harder. But there's ones that have still managed to do it. They've still, they can't find them. It's just less and less now.
Yeah.
So don't do it. You'll get caught. I've saved it, but I'm not advocating for anything. Don't do it. You'll get caught. Just be good.
Absolutely. Well, so kind of our final thoughts. Evil Under the Sun is part murder mystery, part fashion show, part vacation brochure for the terminally shady.
It can be. It's clever. And it proves one thing, and I believe this, although never trust anyone who packs that many scarves.
That leaves the beach before the body's cold, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think between many scarves, many caftans too. If all you have are packing caftans, you're automatically on my side.
Pay attention. This summer, when you head to the beach, don't say you weren't warned. So keep your guard up.
So to summarize today's podcast, we tasted a 2021 Petit Mansing from Verramar Vineyards. We paired the wine with the 1982 film Evil Under the Sun. The film was directed by Guy Hamilton. It was written by Agatha Christie, and it starred Peter Ustinov, Maggie Smith, James Mason, and Diana Rigg. The story is based off of Agatha Christie's 1941 novel. Fun fact, Peter Ustinov designed his own bathing suit for the film. And we end up wrapping up our session by discussing criminal themes: planned spousal murder and staged alibi, financial motivated homicide, and identities deception over multiple crimes. So we decided in terms of kind of our booby trap scorecard for our wine sip or skip verdict. We both decided absolutely it's sippable. And for the film's real deal or real trouble verdict, we both thought it was sketchy but entertaining. We absolutely enjoyed it, but it's not something that we would watch continuously.
And you got there quicker. I went around the block to get there.
And then in terms of the booby trap moment, Arlena's seductive beauty hid that very spiteful heart. And so interactions with her resulted in simmering resentment. When she's found strangled in a secluded cove, everyone has motive. And so to wrap up, this concludes episode 1 from season 3 of the Booby Trap podcast. Please follow us on Instagram, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
For this episode's teaser question to be answered on a social media of your choice is how people present themselves, ever the truth, or always just a mask hiding what they really want. And as I always say, be constructive and be kind.
Yes. So until next time, keep your corks tight, your glasses full, and don't forget your SPF and your suspicions. Cheers.
One sip, one clue, one unforgettable twist. You have been booby trapped.